What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Who Peed in the Dating Pool. Now, technology is funny. To tell you, technology is quite interesting because we all love technology. We use technology every day. We need it. We're almost addicted to it. And we need it. And it's awesome. But it's only awesome when it's working properly. Today, one of those glitches. You know that I'm pretty much a stickler for being on time by the second in regards to my live. But for whatever reason, Instagram did not want to cooperate with me. I thought Instagram and I were cool. I thought we had something. Apparently not. So I'm late. And I hate being late. It's almost like an OCD with me. However, I'm here. And I'm happy to see that you're all here on this Friday. You all made it this work week. Crazy. Hot as hell. I'm not really built for it, but you all know that already. So, anyway. So, we got a special guest today. Excited. Now, a lot of you people, you guys complain and say that I don't have males on the show. Well, I have a male on the show today. And I've had other males on the show. The majority have not been males, but I've had plenty of males on the show. And we have one today, Vigilante. And I think you're gonna enjoy this guy because he has a different perspective. And it's always good to get different perspectives. See, the technology thing got me all tongue-tied. I'm all frantic now. This is me frantic. So, again, we're going to bring him on. We're going to chat for a little bit. We're going to talk about a few things, and I think you guys are going to enjoy him. All right? So, without further ado, What's up, brother?
What's poppin'?
Man, I'm sitting here. I'm wrestling and I'm struggling with technology over here. Wondering what the hell is going on? Like, why are you not up? Not you, but the system.
Yeah.
And I'm like, error message. What the hell is going on here?
No, I feel that.
So what's good, my brother?
No, I'm chilling, man. How you feeling?
I'm all right, man. Up here, I mean, you're in where you in Georgia, right? Okay, yeah, up here is disrespectfully hot, so I have difficulty dealing with it. I'm struggling up here, brother.
How much?
I'm
Is that
struggling.
is that New York?
Nah, we're North Jersey right here.
Jersey. Okay. I'm gonna be in Jersey
Yeah,
for the fight coming up in October. I'm being in Atlantic City.
oh yeah, yeah. Which one? Shakur? No,
What's
no,
the
not
name?
Shakur's in Newark. Shakur's in Newark. Shakur's fighting in Newark. I believe Shakur's fighting in September. So yeah, I think he's fighting in
The place
September. Shakur Stevenson.
the place is called Showboat. Where I'm gonna be at.
Oh, Showboat Casino. Okay.
Yeah, Showboat.
Okay. All right. All right. Yeah, yeah. All right. Yo, so as you know, this is called Who Peed in the Dating Pool.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why, I'll give you a little background on it.
Okay.
So I've been having a lot of conversations with a lot of women, primarily men too, and basically it's been a lot of complaints about the dating scene in general. And the word that they used, they said it's pee in the dating pool. So I'm like, all right. So who peed in it? Who's to blame? Who's the culprit? What's going on? And let's talk about it. And that's basically the premise of why I created this whole platform. Is obviously human beings are meant to be together in some way or form or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So when there's a problem, we try to figure it out. And the only way you can do that is through dialogue. That's it. I mean, I can sit here and assume and make assumptions all day long, but if I don't talk to the people and find out, what's good, what's going on, what are the problems, what difficulties or obstacles have you run into, everything else is an assumption. So I'd rather not assume, and I ask the questions, I reach out to the people, and we talk, we chat. So let me ask you, man, I saw you live with my people X. So I saw some yeah, shout out to X.
Fine.
Yeah, shout out, what's good? So I saw some of that, and I was like, okay, definitely a different perspective on things. Things that to be quite honest, be frank, I'm not even that familiar with. So I'm going to just shoot and ask you a question. So you're single, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not in a relationship at this point in time. So I heard you mentioning a few things about poly and so forth, and that whole lifestyle. Now, people like me, I have an idea, an overall view of what it is, or what I believe it to be, and I'll just say what I think it is there's no set parameters in regard to relationships. That's my perspective. So there are no rules, and it's understood amongst both parties. Tell me if I'm getting that right or not.
That's a very broad synopsis. Um,
Okay, so cool.
yeah, it's different perspectives of looking at it because you have to look at it from, are there no rules based off of what this person's perspective is and what they're implanting to the other person? Is it understood based off of what you don't want to communicate, or is it understood based
Mm.
off of what you already communicated? Those are the different aspects of being in a poly relationship at its like broadest state.
Okay, so from your perspective, which poly relationships tend to work best, or is there no particular rules?
Really, it's not necessarily the relationship itself, it's the people that's within the dynamic. You know,
Mm.
the only way that a man can operate at his highest function is if he kills his ego. And the
Mm-hmm.
only way that a woman can operate in her highest function is if she kills her false entitlement. So
Mm.
when you meet a woman who has gotten over herself, she's a very attractive woman because she understands that if she wants anything in life, she has to earn it. So
Okay.
what in most poly situations, like if you talk to somebody that may be bisexual or curious, the
Mm.
first things that they say is, "Oh, I can't do that because I'll get jealous." That means that you haven't gotten over yourself yet. Because as men, we don't get necessarily jealous about what another man can do. We become aware that our woman wants to venture elsewhere. That's two different things. So
Okay.
if if I'm dating somebody and then she lets me know that she is interested in you, I'm not jealous of you. I'm aware that I need to move forward with somebody else because you're not for me.
All right.
But when it comes to the poly thing with the women, you're literally increasing and building an empire with another woman, which is something that you were interested with you being bisexual into doing anyway. And if you're not bisexual, then it becomes polygamy where you have sister wives that don't necessarily deal with each other on a sexual manner. But necessarily, we have polygamy going on every single day because if you have multiple baby moms, you're in a polygamous relationship because all of them have to work together for the greaterment of the children. We just don't call it that in America. It's the exact same thing. It's just considered a broken home here, only because the females usually create the broken home by beefing with each other and not understanding that the synergy of the whole reason that y'all know each other is because this one man right here.
So let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is it difficult to find people that agree with that lifestyle or go along with that lifestyle, or is this like more of a community that you pull from, or is it that you meet a woman and you say, listen, this is where I am right now, meet me where I am,
Okay,
or how does that work?
I got you. And I'm going to probably only say this one time because I don't like saying it a lot, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty well off.
Mm-hmm.
So with the women, what like most women actually have this in the back of their mind that they want to do this. Most women want to be with a man and a woman because if you look at the dynamics of the best friendship of a woman, they
Mm-hmm.
literally are almost in a relationship with each other. Most best friends that are women have done sexual stuff with each other. They just never crossed that line of being in a relationship. So That's
Mm,
literally 90% of the time what they have you for, is because that line of the relationship, the responsibility of taking care of me, the masculine aspect. But she really want to be with her homegirls most of the time anyway, when you look at it. So when you're in a
mm,
poly relationship, a lot of the time is spent where the girls is shopping with each other and bonding with each other. And when it's time for the masculine aspect of what you do, then that's where you come into play. And more girls want to do that, but they're not going to trust it if you're not financially secure and if you don't have a structure set up for the both of them coming into the situation.
I see. So with that being said, um, with these women, and I assume, are you currently in a poly relationship now? I know you said that you're single, but that poly does. If you're in a poly relationship, would that equate to being single? Or if you're in that relationship, do you consider that somewhat of a commitment with these individuals?
That's a commitment with those individuals. And then y'all have a separate conversation outside of that on whether or not anybody gets the liberation to move in an isolated manner.
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm sure a lot of people that they're interested because personally, I hear the word and I hear young people talk about it primarily because I'm up there, I'm old. So, but the young people, they talk about these things and I listen to it and I never really got an idea of a structure or how it's structured, I should say. So now, I mean, you give me an interesting perspective. I mean, a lot of people, because I'm going to post this and a lot of people are going to watch this. I'm like, listen, live and learn. That's why I ask the questions because, again, I don't claim to know everything. There's a ton of things that I don't know, and I'm glad because the less I know, the more I ask. The more I ask, the more I find out. So that's really the perspective that I take. So I'm going to ask questions. So, do you ever see yourself getting married, settling down with one individual one day, or is that poly commitment just where you're going to go forward?
It's a possibility. You know, I'm willing to do whatever
Mm,
God's plan is for my life. If He brings somebody into my life to where the situation lands to where it's just me and her and our children, and how whatever it becomes, I have no problem with that. I live a very happy life, so I'm pretty sure that whatever situation I land in is just going to be even happier. That's the goal for the overall end game, anyway.
mm, I hear you. I hear you, brother. So let me ask you, I'm sure you weren't always in the whole poly scene. So prior to that poly scene, what was the dating scene like for you?
I mean, I've always been a ladies' man since I was like in the second grade. So, and I've always been
Okay.
like extremely honest about the fact that I've always had multiple women around. If I go to
Okay.
this movie set over here, and then this girl is interested in me, and then I go bowling next Friday, and then another girl is interested in me, I'm not doing nothing wrong. The only difference is
Hmm.
that you saw me first over here. But what does that
All
have to
right.
do with the quality that this woman over here that I met the next week has to do with the diminishment of our relationship? Nothing at all. The difference is that
Mm,
people become so, you got to look at the ratio. There's only 1% of wealth. So that means that there are 99% of people out here that are not living the life that they want to live at all. So therefore, what they do is they run after drugs and alcohol and uh, vagina, so that they can feel like that they're successful at doing something in their life because it's tangible.
right.
Success is not
Mm,
tangible to everybody, but everything I just named is, those vices are tangible. So women have become overvalued because now they feel like that 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 girl is more valuable than the average guy who lives an average lifestyle. And there's more average guys than there are guys who are actually successful. So now it makes it seem like that whatever the woman wants, you then have to conform to the idea of what she says. If you're not willing to pay for this, if you're not willing to do that, if you're not willing to just be with me, if you're not, you know who she's talking to? She's talking to that 99%. But it's that 1% that she's not talking to that controls everything.
hmm. So At that point, so at this particular time, your financial status is where you would like it to be. So was it always that way?
No,
Or okay, so prior to that, um, what were what were the avenues that you used to date these women? I know that you said that the women were attracted to you, but prior to you having these resources, how did you go about doing things?
I like using that same word too, so I appreciate you using that word. Um,
Hmm.
so prior to that, it was really just me just being down to earth and just
Hmm.
understanding that whatever your struggle is, that I'm still currently in that stage too. So that's my struggle as well. But
All right.
I was rich here first before I was ever rich here. So when the women would get around me, I would be in uh old '01 Mitsubishi Eclipse talking about how I wanted to get a 2020 Mustang. And here we are in 2022, and I've had my 2020 Mustang for 2 years now. So I was here already before I got here, and the women would recognize that, and they would look at it and go, okay, the stuff he's saying, it sounds astronomical, but I've seen him do astronomical stuff before. How do you end up on television? How do you end up celebrity boxing? How do you end up on the podcast with Benzino? How do you end up with 1 million followers? How do you end up verified? How do you do this? It's nothing that he says that won't come true because I'm seeing it happen with him every single day. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
So
Right. And
women that,
I think people recognize potential, and
yeah.
they appreciate confidence. I think anyone appreciates potential and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you can see it within a person, I think a lot of people are drawn to that. That's one of the things that's attractive. Everything attractive isn't have to do with the physical, because there are other levels of attraction, and I think those are two things that people tend to be attracted to or drawn to. So I agree with that.
Yeah, and amongst other things, I grew up in the church, so I grew up religious, and then once I became older and more woke, then that religious went to more spiritual, and then so I can have a conversation with somebody that has $3 in their pocket and literally understand they struggle because I was born in Flint, Michigan, so I've seen the worst of the worst, and then traveled to Atlanta and became what I became, so I can literally talk to you from both sides, and I can tell you literally from where you are right now the next step, which is what people are missing in life, which is why most relationships fail. Because if this broke person get with this broke person and y'all trying to fix each other and neither one of y'all know which way is up, if my car break down on the side of the road and you try to help me and neither one of us are a mechanic, are we going anywhere? That's
Okay.
literally
You have a
that's literally what
you
the
have a
relationships are.
question.
Oh, I'm listening. I'm so confused. Being probably has to do with money. No. I think that's definitely a woman that's asking that because women don't have the capacity to compartmentalize. The money is
Mm.
a small aspect of the structure that's set up. When I got on the live with X, I'm gonna answer her question by saying this. When I got on the live with X, the first thing that I did was I listened to her ideas and what she wanted to do with her life as a strong, independent woman, and then I set it on
Mm.
autopilot by creating a system around it so that me and her could just focus on each other while the money made itself.
All right.
So when you're in a poly relationship, if you have now not one person to tend to, but you have two people to set that structure for, the more resources that you have yourself is the more patience and the more attention that you can give to it in an isolated fashion with both your girls. Because it's one thing for you to have one blueprint, it's another thing for you to have two. And especially if they do two separate things. So that's why you being in a position to to fund those not fund but to fuel those resources in the proper directions is one of the most important parts for you being the head of that poly situation.
Let me ask you a question. Is there ever concern or fear that the resources is just the primary reason why they're with you, or is it that the resources create some type of bond or love and what have you through that structure? Is there a fine line between why they're there or why you feel they should be there?
Well, me personally, I'm not the I heard Wallow say this on the podcast. He calls himself register
Mm.
man. He says I step up to
Okay.
that register. And I said, Wallow, you a
Mm-hmm.
goddamn fool. Keep that money in your pocket. Don't be no register man for nobody. If you with somebody and
Mm-hmm.
they have to register, that means that they got their own goddamn money. So I tell people all the time, I don't pay bills. I create other millionaires. That's what I do. So I
Mm-hmm.
take like you saw what I did with X. I didn't offer any money to her situation. I said, this is what you do. This is what you can do to make it run on autopilot, and this is what you can do to become richer. I gave her the $1 million blueprint. You take that, you run with it, and our love that we have for each other is totally separate. You don't even have access to my resources. You have access to the mind that created the resources, and we put the minds together and we create more resources. So nobody can be with me for the money because I'm not giving them any.
Well, that goes behind the idea, give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, teach him how to fish and he'll eat forever type mentality.
There you go.
So, I mean, yeah, that coincides and that's aligned with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so just elaborate a little more for the people who weren't there, or if you want to share that with people, your blueprint in regards to the avenues that people can take to just further establish themselves.
For sure. I've turned my life into a passion project. So every single day that I wake up, I do what I feel is necessary that day, and then I just monetize it. Instagram is now monetized. If a person can, people can buy literally badges for just watching us right now. All we have to do is create the fan base. TikTok and Instagram are competing right now with Reels. So if you post Reels on both channels, then you're going to get paid for this one, and you're going to get paid for this one. Um, what X was doing when she has the 360 spin cam. That's something that she can get paid for. And I was telling her she's missing out on a little bit of money because she needs to show people how she sets it up. She needs to tell the backstory to why she bought it and how she bought it, because that's all money that she's missing out on. YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
monetizable, um, just all of that stuff. Buy you a vending machine. They're not that expensive. They only $600, and you can do payment plans on them. And all you have to do is just have a Sam's card or have a Costco card, or just go shop at the dollar store, and then just double up on all of the prices for what it is. Um, Set your credit off the correct way with apps such as Kickoff, TriGrain,
Mm-hmm.
and Self Lender. Build a relationship with the bank. I have a great relationship with Navy Federal. I've been with them for years, and I love the large amount of credit lines that they frivolously give out because they want to actually give people a chance to establish real credit and have real money to do real things. So these are some of the things that you can do to set yourself apart. Stop renting. Stop going into the mind state of, oh, I'm gonna just get this apartment or I'm gonna just get this house. No, own, buy the land, get the house, because now we're talking about equity. We're talking about never being broke again by, you can literally make $10,000 off of your house appreciating just by sitting on the land that it's at, and you can literally snatch the equity from your house and live off of it. I know people that don't make that much in a year, and you can make that much doing nothing.
All
So
right.
it's just so many different avenues. There's no reason for anybody in the world to be broke at this point.
Right. I mean, this the whole social media has become the new revenue stream for a lot of individuals with the different platforms and so forth. I mean, yeah. I mean, eh, I think it's important to learn as much as you can in regards to the social media and the potential profits that can be made from it. You know, I had those discussions in private, and we talk about those things in regards to. But that's good. That's a good thing that you're sharing that with people. You know, if you have knowledge, share the knowledge. You know, because I think it's a lot of people who have the knowledge who who save it like it's something that should be coveted as opposed to presented to the masses, because the more people out there with resources the better, because you don't want to be that one person with all the resources. Now you become the stake around hungry wolves,
Yeah.
you know, and we live in a wolf society, so I understand that. So I mean, so we discussed a lot of things. Well, we'll say this. um I don't really have judgment on anything. I like to listen and I like to learn. Like I mentioned before, I learn as much as I can, whether I agree or disagree. It doesn't really matter what I agree with or disagree with. What matters is what I'm taking in and what I'm learning. And I appreciate all the information that I get. And this is something that I'm sure a lot of people are going to find really interesting because it's not something that we really discussed on the show before. And we have a lot of discussions on the show. Last week, we were discussing something that was very funny. And it seemed like a simple question. And for you, this question might be, for lack of a better word, maybe insignificant. But
Let me
we discussed
let me say it.
here. What's going on, Steve? What's good? So we basically we discuss in a new relationship, in a real relationship with an individual. A lot of times when you get in that relationship, you look for that first trip, that first vacation that you have together, because it's something that, it means something. It has some significance. And we discuss how long should it take before you and an individual decide that you want to take that first trip together. So do you have a time span on how long it takes before you're willing to go away with somebody to spend that time with an individual, or it doesn't matter? You would 2 days is enough if you feel the vibe with that individual.
Well, with the particular lifestyle that I live, like even how we started off the
Right,
conversation by saying that I'm gonna be in Jersey on October
right,
22nd. Whenever I
right,
get
right.
booked out of town to do something, I utilize that time as the time for me and that particular person to travel and to see the sights of wherever it is that I'm going in particular, or where she's going in particular. Like one of the ladies that I talk to now, she loves to travel and she loves to frivolously travel. And I'm just like, that's such a terrible investment because you don't take advantage of showing people your travels on your social media the correct way where you can even get paid and travel for free. She wants to become a travel agent and a flight attendant, and that's in the process right now. But she lacks the patience to sit
Mm,
still while she is in the process of that stuff happening. See, with me, I'm always trying, like I said, I try to monetize what feels natural. If you want to travel, then let's make money off of the fact that we're traveling. Let's make it a whole thing. But if you're just
mm,
traveling frivolously, I didn't become who I became and had the resources that I got by doing frivolous stuff. So I can't be in support of your frivolous movement either, even if it's your money, because our money is becoming a synergy, and I don't want to teach you the wrong stuff out the gate. So that's my perspective on it. If I meet a girl, I got to be out there October 15th. If I meet a girl October 14th, a different one or this same one or whatever, we decide to go, or multiple girls decide to go with us, then it really is no time span of how we going to do it. I just know when I got to be there, and I know when I got to be back, and I know if you're not on that
mm.
plane going in either direction, then your ass is getting left. So that's the way that I see it.
So to answer your question is basically there is no time span. If you feel it, it is what it is. You make that move.
Yeah, and I want to do it the correct way. I don't want to do it off
Right.
the impulse. I don't want to do it blindly because love can be blinding, and I
Hmm.
don't want to do it in a way to where I regret anything if either one of us have a bad experience.
Okay, fair enough. Um, I think my response to that was you got to get to the point where both individuals feel comfortable with one another. And if both individuals are comfortable with one another, however long that time span is, I think that's a fair amount of time. Now, other people disagree with that concept. They thought it should be longer, um, almost every year. And I respect that viewpoint as well because she had her reasons why it should take a year before two people go away with one another because they need to learn more about each other, that comfort level. I disagree with that time period, but it was an interesting conversation. We had a bunch of people on here and we wanted to just get a viewpoint, and then that conversation went to if you take a vacation with one another, are you obligated to give up the goods while you're on vacation?
Yeah,
And
see, I'm gonna chime in on both of those.
right.
Um, the thing that confuses me about women is that they will frivolously get into a relationship with somebody without actually having a friendship stage, a best friend stage, getting to know them stage. So when you're in a
Mm,
relationship with somebody, you're going to be getting to know them for the rest of your life. There is no I know this person well enough or any of that because it's a reset button that you hit every day. And then people evolve. So the person that you knew 5 years ago is not even that same person today. It's a whole nother version of that person. So there should be no time span if you decide we're officially in a relationship, especially if we live
Mm-hmm.
together and see each other every day. This is nothing but four walls. There's nothing more significant about these four walls than there are about us traveling down the street to another four walls. It's the same me and you. We're just in a whole different strip of land that the white man took from us years ago anyway. So I'm trying to figure out the significance of the time period, because at that same time period, we're going to be in these four walls, still quote unquote learning each other in a relationship that it sounds like that we're in prematurely.
What if you're not in a official relationship? What if you're just in the initial dating stages? Does that same criteria still apply with you?
Depends. Because actually that was a conversation that happened with the girl, with one of the girls I'm talking to currently. Was we really clicked in within the first month of us meeting each other, and we were already making plans on buying the next investment property together and going half on the down payment and half on the equity and moving in and this and that. And I'm just like, I had to hit the pause button for a second on myself and realize that
Mm,
I was speaking prematurely, because yes, I like you a lot, and yes, you're everything that I've been looking for, but at the end of the day, I'm rushing. And I'm not rushing for a bad reason, but I don't want it to turn bad because I'm rushing. And there's no reason for us to rush. I don't have cancer. I'm not going to pass away at some just unexpected time. So we don't have no reason to move that fast. And me slowing you down is not necessarily me saying that I don't want to be with you. It's saying that we don't have to stress our legs, quote unquote, so fast when we can just pace ourselves and just move and just
right.
coast. We already like
Mm.
each other, so we can just coast from here. Let's just keep on doing what we're doing, and what we're discussing that we were going to do in the future. We can still do that, but let's just do it a little bit slower so it makes a little bit more sense.
Oh, so there's a possible person in the wings right now. There's someone there that might get you to settle down.
There's always a possible person because of who I am and what I do, and just me in general. So even if she's not there, there's going to be another one, and if she's not there, there's going to be another one. It's for the rest of my life.
Okay. So I was trying to put you in a corner to find out if this was the one. Like we found her on Who Peed in the Dating Pool. We got her. All
We
right.
possibly
I
could
feel you.
have, but it sounds like that
Hey,
you're
hey.
different. It sounds like that you're differentiating the success of a relationship between the poly and polygamy and the monogamy. And I don't want that
Mm,
to be the case, because the
okay.
successful relationship, even if you
Hmm.
decide you want to be single for the rest of your life and you just want to have a baby mom, a girlfriend, or however you want to structure your life, happiness is happiness. And the Eurocentric structure that we would like to believe is the sense of happiness, a lot of those marriages are not happy. So if you're in a marriage and you're not happy, you're in an unsuccessful relationship. If you're single and you're not happy, you're unsuccessful. If you're single and you're
Mm.
happy, you're successful. If you're poly and you're happy, successful. Polygamy, happy, successful. Monogamy, happy, successful. That is the gauge of whether or not it is something that is substantial.
So happiness is the key to success, whatever that may be.
I'm gonna say that happiness and joy should be the end result of success.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So what would you define as the ultimate success? If that's the end game, the journey, would you consider the journey the success?
No, not
The
really.
journey to the end game?
No, not really. Because you can play 3 good quarters of a good basketball game and still lose, and I
Hmm.
wouldn't appreciate that journey with me losing.
Right.
So I would say that love is what
With
fuels.
the end game ending in happiness, though.
I
That
mean,
happiness would be the win.
I don't know anybody that's happy about a loss.
Absolutely.
So
Mm,
the love fuels the journey. Passion
mm-hmm.
fuels the journey. Happiness at the end of the journey. It's like a pregnancy. Let's put it that way. If you get your girl pregnant, you guys loved each other more than likely,
Mm,
and you guys have passion for each other, and you both passionately wanted to reproduce. That's what fueled the pregnancy. But the
mm-hmm.
happiness and the joy at the end is the day of the birth, and when you guys actually see the baby and can hold the baby, and now you can rest, and now you can be like, this pregnancy is over, and now we get to have the joy of having our child.
Okay.
That's the example I'll use.
Fair. That's fair. So, if you had one piece of advice for everybody, and that may be it, but if you had one piece of advice for everybody, what would you say it is?
Just in general advice,
In general advice.
I'm gonna go
One
back to
piece.
what I said earlier. The
Mm,
man functions at his highest when he kills his ego. The woman functions
mm-hmm.
at her highest when she kills her false sense of entitlement.
What is that false sense of entitlement? What would you say that is? Explain it to the ladies what that is, and me as well, because I want to just further elaborate. What would you consider that false sense of entitlement? What is that?
Well, let me ask you. Earlier you said that um, when you have or have touched on poly situations earlier, or the lack of conversation, you guys
Mm-hmm.
mostly talk about monogamy, and I want to know: do you feel that that's because you feel like that the women will automatically disagree, or that they will not understand, or what is the reason for tiptoeing the topic? Personally.
Well, I'll tell you something that I discussed a few times on our live,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about infidelity and having different women, and I've always said this: men lie because they assume that the woman is not going to go for the whole idea of another person being in the picture. Now, often that is the case. However, you don't know this until you communicate that. And then there's a possibility that there is someone out there who will agree with your wants, your needs, or what have you. So what I say is you find that person that's willing to go along with it and speak your truth to her. This is who I am. This is what I want. And then you don't have to worry about the dishonesty and the heartbreak and all of those things. So I'm a big believer in just put it out there. If that's what you want, express yourself. And I don't know if that would be considered poly, so to speak. It's just maybe you just don't want to be tied down, because if you don't want to be tied down, you may not introduce these two individuals with one another.
It sounds like
But
it
a
sounds like
poly.
the intro. It sounds like the intro. If you're a woman and you're with a man, and your man is interested in other women, he's either telling you
Mm-hmm.
that he wants to be polygamous or he wants to be polyamorous. He's literally putting that information out there. Now, what I'm gonna say is this, based off of what you just said. You said that it 9 times out of 10 won't be a lot of women that go for that. Now, I want you
Well,
to
I forget about the statistics.
okay. Well,
Don't go with the ratio. Don't go with the
if this,
ratio.
we're gonna avoid the ratio, we're gonna say that there's gonna be a
Mm.
group of women that won't go for that.
Okay.
Let me say
Okay.
this: I'm the man. I am literally the head of everything that happens, especially if I
Mm-hmm.
become extremely resourceful. I don't
All
have
right.
to check in with anybody about the lifestyle that I choose that I want to live. If you want to be
Mm-hmm.
around what's going on over here, then you have to have an understanding of who I am as a person based off of watching me move. And you have to accommodate for that. This is why I said earlier that the 99% of the unsuccessful pool has to try to reason with a woman. I want you to hear how this sounds as a man. You have to try to
Mm-hmm.
reason with a woman on your lifestyle, on how you want to live as a man. Why should she respect you? This is not coming to an agreement. This is not a compromise. This is literally reasoning with a female about how you want to live your life as a man. That's some of the weakest stuff I've ever heard in my whole life. I have never done that. I will never do that. Now, if I meet a person and she says that there are certain ramifications within the way that I want to live my life that she doesn't agree with, I have no problem
Mm-hmm.
accommodating for that, as long as she has no problem stepping up to the plate and whatever I feel is a void in that situation, bridging the gap. So if you are not bridging the gap, then you have to understand that most men, African American men, which the first part of that is African, which the first part of that is Africa, which that's where they have multiple wives at. And the only people in the world that don't understand that is African American women who share the same heritage as us. That's where the false entitlement comes in. Because they have 99% of men that try to reason with them. Rich men don't reason with their wives. Successful men don't do that. We have conversation and I let you know what it is, and you decide if you want to stay through that. That's
So
what
how
it
do
is.
I get it? I get it. So let me ask you. So how does that work when both parties have equal resources, financial resources? Is there any difference? Does it change when, or then the female may have more resources? How does that work? What's the dynamic with that?
As the man, you still the head. The woman being resourceful means that there's a certain part of her intelligence or a certain part of her uh what's the word? I'm gonna just say grind, for lack of a better word. It's her
Mm,
intelligence and her grind that she has tapped into that the man hasn't tapped into, that she can put him on to, so that they can both become resourceful on the same level. Or she can
okay.
continue to surpass him, but it can just grow. Like, we don't know
All
who
right.
got more money out of Jay and Beyonce, nor does it
All right.
matter, because at the end of the day, they've decided that they have a system that works for them, and that they have shot off into the moon with it, and that's what everybody else has to do. Really, who comes into the relationship with more resources doesn't matter. The man is the head because he thinks with logic. The woman is, she's not. I think that when we say that the man is the head, that women feel belittled by that, and it's literally not to belittle them. It's to establish position. There's a point guard, there's a center, there's a shooting guard, there's a power forward. No,
Mm,
no position on that court is less significant than the other person. But if the
all
center
right.
is confused with the point guard, then there's going to be a hell of a terrible game that's about to go on. And there's about to be a
Mm,
hell of a terrible loss that they're going to take. And that's the reason why a lot of these losses are happening. When you hear a woman say stuff like, I'm going to just stay single, or I don't need a man, or um, FREE, I'm F nigga free, and all of this stuff, what you're hearing is a total lapse in accountability. She has not gotten over herself yet. She still feels that there's something that she's missing, that she deserves better. But you're not
all
understanding that you put yourself in a position of whatever you just dealt with. You
right.
you had to approach that situation in a way to where you saw a future with it. So how bad could it have been if you said, I want to go along with this, and then all of a sudden you done met this new version of this person that you didn't see before, because you didn't decide that you wanted to be friends with them first, and then
All
build
right.
a bond and then get into the relationship. So who was wrong?
I would say that a lot of the viewpoints that women have, and not all, but a lot of the viewpoints, a lot and negative, or what may be perceived as negative, comes from a lot of trauma, that unresolved trauma. And I think that's some of the things that don't get discussed, the trauma, and a lot of people's inability to overcome, or at least deal with that on a level where it doesn't prevent them from hindering new relationships or building upon those relationships. So a lot of it is, a lot of it appears to be hatred for men or so forth, but a lot of times it's just trauma. And men have trauma as well, and men have trauma that they don't deal with, and that trauma is basically brought to the relationship in a way where it can prevent you from being whole. Let's say that. Um, and I think that's not addressed as much as it should be. I think it gets ignored, and I think it gets put to the back burner. And all of these things should be put into equation, because there's not always just one reason for anything. There are multiple layers. And unless we address the multiple layers, I don't think that we really get to the nitty gritty of what some of these problems are. Again, and they're multi-layered. I mean, I agree with some of the things that you said. We all have roles, you know. I mean, there's that masculine perspective, and then there's that feminine, and we need to play our roles. And a lot of times, some women have a lot of masculine energy, but that masculine energy really results from a lifestyle and things that they've dealt with where they've had to play that role. So, and I think we as men should understand that as well,
And I don't
and take that
understand
into
that.
consideration.
I don't understand that or give a damn about it, because that's not my business.
Right.
The fact that you had to play that role means that there was a lapse in something that happened before I came. So why should I give a damn
Absolutely.
about it? That has nothing to do with me. I can only
Right.
control what I brought into your life. I can't control what your mom
Right.
did, what your stepdad did, what your dad did, grandma did, what your auntie told you, and I don't care. Because when I come into your life, I'm bringing a completely different aspect and perspective that we have nothing but time to implant into each other. So sometimes it's not even, it's the trauma too, but sometimes it's the impatience and it's the defense mechanism of, I don't want to get hurt, so I'm going to try to force this, and this to happen so that it doesn't lead down here, when you don't even know that sometimes you need to go down there in order to get back over here.
And that's true. I don't think it's necessarily our role to repair. I don't
Right.
believe that. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's there, and acknowledgement as well. I think we should be aware of it. And I mean, you know, because we don't want to be ignorant to the fact. I mean, whether we're there to repair them or fix them, I think people should fix themselves. I think people should try to come into relationships whole. It makes no sense to be broken and seek a relationship. There is no point to seek a relationship if you haven't fixed yourself, because now you're gonna, if you can end up with two broken individuals as opposed to just the one. So I do think it's important to acknowledge. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't saying that the role is to repair an individual or for a woman to repair a man or whomever. I'm just saying that it behooves us to be aware of those situations, because it's important that we at least acknowledge.
I'm gonna probably tell you
That's circle.
why I feel that way is because a lot of people consider me to be a genius for the level of success that I've had. And I tell people all the time, I may be a genius, but to myself, I just have an enormous amount of common sense. And I'm learning that in the world, common sense is not common. So for me, I have to realize that sometimes a person that takes something that's right in front of their face, 1 + 1 = 2. But if some days they want 1 + 1 to equal 5, well, I can't overcompensate for the fact that that equals 5 to you. If you need to look at the dry erase board where it says 1 + 1 = 2 until you go blind, that's your business. You do that over there. I'm gonna be over there. And once you figure out that it's gonna always equal 2, then you can join me over there. That's how I feel about
All
it.
right.
The other day, I was trying to help somebody get a lower insurance rate, and I was explaining to them how to do so, and they kept on she kept coming at me with combative energy rather than the energy of her trying to further understand. It was less inquisitive and it was more combative. So I told her that she can exit, and when she leaves the combative energy where it is and she comes back inquisitive, then we can revisit the conversation. And right there, it sets the precedent of how we're going to move forward in talking to each other. Because a lot of people, a lot of men have had a lot of arguments with a lot of women, but a lot of men have never had arguments with a woman inside of a Bentley or inside of a drop top or inside of a mansion. Because a woman will not argue with you inside of something that has extreme value that you have, because you know that you can put her out of it, and that another woman will gladly take that spot. So she will behave herself. That's a huge problem right there, is that as men we have not been operating as men. That's the problem. Man up. Don't let this woman yell at you. Don't yell back at her, but you should be able to just look at her and be like, and she'll shut up. If she doesn't, then she doesn't respect you. The other
Mm.
woman will. That's why she's there, because she sees that this woman doesn't respect you, and she's trying to show you that she does.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I mean, like I said, everybody, I told you this gentleman has very interesting perspectives on various different things. I told you, you're gonna enjoy it. Love him, I hate him. You know, you're gonna get a different perspective, and I appreciate it. Like I said, I, brother, I am open to everything. I listen to it all, and I appreciate the people who come through. And yo, this has been one of the more interesting lives that I had, and I'm sure my messenger is going. They're going to say, well, they're going to have a lot to say about this one. They were like, who is that guy? What you know? But I'm like, listen, what I'll say about you is, listen, you be your authentic self. And I always say that's important. You know, be organic, be who you are. And your views may not align with the masses, okay, but they're your views. And if you're true to yourself, it really doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks, as long as you're comfortable with yourself and you seem to be comfortable with your views and everything. And I don't have a problem with that per se. And this platform is for everybody to present their views, and I asked the questions, and I mean, you were very forthcoming. Your answers were very honest, and I'm sure somebody probably learned something from this dialogue. I'm sure. I mean, they listen and like, you know what? It sparked something with them. They're like, yeah, all right, yeah, definitely. Yo, he had something to say. And then some people are going to be angry with some of the things that you said. You know, they're going to be frustrated.
What
But
what
I think
what do
overall,
you think they'll be angry about? What you think?
well, which particular thing?
Yeah, which particular thing or particular things?
Um, I think a lot of women don't agree with that standpoint of the male dominance in relationship, and just looking at a woman and her shutting up because and I'm sure you're aware of that. I mean, you're from Michigan and you live in Georgia, so I mean, I've been to both states, so I'm familiar with people out there. So a lot of people are going to disagree with that, and that's fine. I mean, they can disagree, but as you know, there are going to be people who are not going to be aligned with that viewpoint.
Yeah, I think that what we have to realize is that the masses is unhappy as far as the ratio. If there were more
All
happy
right.
relationships, then shows like this wouldn't even exist. So, or a Kevin Samuels, or a Oprah Winfrey, or we can go on and on about stuff that wouldn't exist if
Right.
more people were genuinely happy. So, we have to
Right.
realize that the way that we're living our life, well, I'm not gonna say we, I'm gonna say the way that they're living their lives are not conducive to what they want to do in the future, because a lot of them feel like, well, I'm gonna just be single forever, or I'm gonna just accept failure, or I feel like I keep failing, so I need to do something different. But the something different that you need to do is what you're not willing to do, because you're not willing to fix
Mm,
yourself. I was in the boxing
mm.
gym with my coach the other day, and I had my hands up, and he hit me with an overhand right, boom, right there. So what I did was I put my hands up higher. That means I immediately adjusted to a mistake that I saw that I was making. And
All right.
that's what 99% of people in the world are not doing. And that's why we have 1% of wealth, because of that.
Oh, by the way, your kindred spirit in the whole boxing world. Yeah, that's something I've done for a long. I'm old now. I can't. But I train people, but yeah. So yeah, we definitely kindred spirits in that regard.
Yeah.
So you know what? I mean, I definitely I appreciate your presence. I appreciate you reaching out, and it was awesome. I really enjoyed this show, and I hope everybody listen. People, respect this man for his honesty and his trueness to himself. He's being his organic self. He's expressing himself, whether you like, love, hate, whatever. This is just this man expressing who he is. And personally, I appreciate that because it is not enough honesty out there. So, people bring their representative, and, that's not always the best route to take. Just be yourself.
I don't know what I was
Definitely.
I was listening to something earlier, and this girl said when a girl goes on a date when a guy goes on a date with a girl, he's hoping that she likes him. When a girl goes on a date with a guy, she's hoping that she likes him. And I was just like, let me say that one more time. When a guy goes on a date with a girl, he's hoping that she likes him. When a girl
Right.
goes on a date with a guy, she's hoping that she likes him. Meaning that she doesn't even care if he likes her, because she feels like she's taking her time out to do this. Therefore, that's her contribution to what's going on. And when I listened to the thing, I said, I've never went on a date with a girl where I was hoping that she liked me. I really don't give a damn about whether or not she likes me. I'm going to present my authentic self. We're going to have a great time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 90% sure how the night is going to end. I'm like 90% sure, even before I get there.
And how would that be? And how does it end?
I'll leave that up for interpretation. I'll leave that up for interpretation. I'm 90% sure how the night is going to end. But the part that just caught my attention.
Okay.
When I go out, I don't never try to compromise anything about what I think or what I say or anything. If I feel like that I want to tell a joke right here, I'm gonna tell a joke. If I want to play some loud music, I'm gonna play some loud music. If I want to drop the top on my car, I'm gonna just drop the top on it. I'm not really like asking this stuff, and I don't want to sound like I'm saying I don't care about the woman at all, because I'm literally going out for human interaction. So I'm courting you in a more authentic way, so that there's no representative of, because I just told you I don't just spend large sums of money on people. I show them how to get money. So if I come out the gate like taking you to the Louis store and the Gucci store, you best believe that's a representative, because that ain't me. And if that's what you used to getting, then why didn't that relationship work? You got to ask yourself that. If he's willing to spend thousands of dollars on clothing for you, then why are y'all not together now? Because there was a breach in the system somewhere else.
Yeah. Yo, brother, tell people where they can find you.
Or literally right up there, but at Vigilante LOM, VIGILANTELOM at the Showboat, October 15th, and accepting an award at Black Only Awards for the Rising Star of the Year on October 22nd.
All right, definitely. All right, brother, I appreciate you for coming through. This was dope, man. I appreciate you, brother. You're welcome anytime. Anytime you want to come through, let me know. And definitely, you are definitely welcome. Open invitation to you, brother.
Thank you. After this episode drops, I want you to write all of the things that people say in the comments, so we can come back for a part 2 and we can address every comment.
Absolutely, brother. Hey, you hear that? Put it in the comments. I'm about to post this shortly. Put it in the comments. You got a problem with what he said? You agree with what he said? Put it in the comments.
All right, brother. I appreciate it.
That's it. Definitely, my brother. One.